Thanks everyone for being here today. As you can see, this is a really major announcement for the Clean Water Fund, and DEEP is thrilled to be here today to be part of this announcement about 12 projects estimated to be worth approximately $170 million that will jumpstart efforts to reduce the burden of flooding on one of Connecticut's most overburdened communities here in Hartford's North End. Of course, we've been proud to support communities like Hartford that have combined sewer systems for over 2 decades to help make progress in meeting the standards of the Federal Clean Water Act. But it's with the acceleration of climate change, we know that that challenge, which is going to take decades to address, billions of dollars of investment. We have to move faster, and we have to work in an innovative way to be able to provide the kind of relief that's not only going to protect clean water and our ecosystems and protecting the health of the Connecticut River, the Long Island Sound, but also the residents in these communities. And I just want to say a huge thank you to them who have, I know, done this advocacy with great passion and out of necessity, because it's really impacting people's health, their livelihoods, their properties. I know Sharon Lewis is a member of the Connecticut, the CJAC, our Equity and Environmental Justice Advisory Council at DEEP, and I recall late last year just really being moved by what she shared in our CJAC meeting about how this issue impacted her home personally. Bridget Prince, Cynthia Jennings, others brought us together for a forum with the EPA in February, and we heard from so many property owners. I just want to say personally, it was very important for me to be there and hear those voices, and I've carried that with me as we've been working through this issue within DEEP and with the MDC. So we sent a request to the MDC after hearing those community concerns. MDC is the utility owner and operator, to ask them to give us projects that can help to address this challenge. And so we're glad to see these move forward. 5 of the projects will be slated to begin in 2023, 6 projects that will begin in 2024, and 1 in 2025. The state of Connecticut, through the Clean Water Fund, which is managed by DEEP and the Office of the Treasurer, and through also a portion of our funding comes from the federal government, from the EPA, through grants and other types of funding. We have committed to a 50% match of grant funding for these projects. So that all told will be worth about $85 million in funding, largely coming through state bonding, through state commitments. So that's why I'm just so grateful to the Speaker and to all members of the Hartford delegation who've made the Clean Water Fund a priority all of these years. In providing this funding, DEEP has confirmed that the MDC anticipates the remaining funding for these projects, the other 50%, will be covered within the current MDC rate structure with no impact on current rates, which is a really important issue for residents and businesses in this area. You know that Hartford is burdened by a combined sewer system. It conveys both sewerage and stormwater in one pipe. This is a system that was common when sewers were first installed in cities across the country in the early 1900s. But with the acceleration of climate change and more frequent, intense rainstorms, they're overwhelming these sewer systems and causing sewage backups that are devastating to residents and local businesses. And when combined with sewer systems, when combined sewer systems are overwhelmed by rainstorms, they're overflowing into urban streams, causing street flooding, and they're causing sewage to back up in people's basements. So in addition to this funding, I just want you to know that we're also really proud that the governor's support to be funding grants, planning grants for all communities across the state to invest in planning and developing projects for climate resilience. That includes $8.8 million in grants that were announced earlier this month through DEEP's inaugural Climate Resilience Fund. About $1 million of that is going to the city of Hartford as well as to West Hartford to help do planning for stormwater authorities and assessing options that can help bend the curve and address this looming challenge, this larger challenge about the increasing amount of stormwater coming into the system. So that's $245,000 to the city of Hartford to develop a city-wide flooding and climate resiliency assessment, and $700,000 to the town of West Hartford, which contributes significantly a lot of stormwater into the system that is also impacting this area. We are hopeful that with the seeds we're planting with those grants will help the cities to develop the next generation of projects necessary so that we can help to support those and also pursue an increasing amount of federal funding that's now available for climate resilience. So I want to also thank Senator Blumenthal, who's here today, for his leadership and advocacy in bringing EPA to the table and our federal partners to make sure we can get our share of that funding. The 12 projects announced today are going to expedite work planned in the North End and also include something really new for the Clean Water Fund. So I just want to say for all the community advocates who raised their voices here, you're helping us explore something innovative that hopefully we'll be able to confirm its value and bring it to other communities across the state. And that is, for the first time, on a pilot basis, we will be allowing MDC to use some of the funding here to do work on private property through a private property infrastructure pilot that has the potential to confirm the financial, social, and environmental benefits that could be achieved by addressing privately owned infrastructure that is connected to the public sewerage system. It's not something we've done before. We're going to be carefully evaluating the results here, and it will help us inform the next generation of what we do with the Clean Water Fund. In CSO communities, many homes have gutters, foundation drains, sump pumps that direct stormwater with the household sewer through the sewer lateral that connects to the sewer main in the street. So that's the kind of work that the MDC will be looking at. While it's being systematically phased by MDC in certain areas, there will also be funding dedicated across the city to address failed sewer laterals, which is a cost typically borne by the homeowner, and the installation of backflow preventers that are designed to stop sewer from the main backing up in basements. I finally want to just note that we are also pursuing funding from the EPA through some of their environmental justice community partnership grants. I know you'll hear about that perhaps from some of the speakers later, but I think the purpose of this grant is to fund community-based organizations that can partner with DEEP to work within the community to educate community members about the resources that are now available to them. That's a really important part of ensuring that equity and environmental justice and community voices are elevated, continue to be elevated going forward in how these funds are distributed. And I finally want to say that this is just the beginning. Because of the great work from the community, I shared with the Hartford delegation, we have a lot of funding for things like green infrastructure that never gets requested, in part because we haven't supported communities enough to be able to apply for and visualize and implement projects in their communities. So we're going to look to continue this dialogue and what we can do more to come. But anyway, thank you so much everyone for being here and for all the support for this program.
I'll say a couple words. I'm laughing. Come on, sister. I'm joking because when the commissioner came, she saw me walking up. You couldn't hear me? When the commissioner saw me walking up here, she thanked me. I'm laughing. This is our joke for coming to the press conference. And I turned to the right. I told you, I said, you see that house right there? That's my mama's house. Yeah. And I've been born and raised in that house. You see that young lady across the street there? That's Miss Burke. That's Miss Mansfield. That's Sylvester who walked me up the street. Those people who live in this community for over 30, 40, 50 years. And these people in this community, they send me up to the Capitol for a reason, to handle my business. And they kind of was a little disappointed that all this commotion was going on in their neighborhood. And I didn't tell them. Because we don't have press conferences in our neighborhood. We don't have to have it. They send me here to do work. And I normally don't have to come to you and tell you what I did, because I get the work done. But I realize, even though I'm in a party that has majority, sometimes our voices ain't heard. Sometimes we're gonna have to do a little more. So those individuals, I'm not gonna name the names, but those people who advocated from outside the Capitol and forced those people, all these people you see here, all these elected officials in this community, made me and made this system. Her and I, they came to and said, do something about it. That's who was there. That's who listened. And that's who got everybody here now. And I'm happy. I'm happy that this is a good start. But I'm disappointed that it took this long. Our basement has been flooded ever since I was a child. And everybody passed the buck to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. So it got out of hand. So there was an act of God. A storm that was an act of God that makes people come realize the problems that we have. But that's gonna change now. And all you hear, all these great things you hear we gonna get done, this lady, this organization, because people like her house has been flooded, and that house has been flooded. We're gonna make sure our people in this community get what's rightfully done for them. So those are the words I want to say. Sister Khan, I want to thank you and thank the delegation for listening to our community. And finally, we're gonna make a change. Thank you.
Just want to say thank you to those that really, for the last few months have come to the table, brought forth ideas, and made sure that the plan that we have before us is something that's going to work now for the community, making sure shovels are on the ground. Folks at DEEP have been very helpful. Folks at MDC have been at the table with us. City of Hartford has been at the table, and of course community members. So I just want to say thank you to everybody and for holding us accountable so that we can deliver some of what we're doing here today. And I look forward to continued conversations on how we will address some of these long-term, especially issues, which is part of a lot of what we did. So thank you.
I just echo the sentiments of Senator McCauley and Representative Khan, and just thanking the advocates for demanding that we take action. I just want to give a special shout out. We are in front of somebody's house, and that's Nikita. She's actually my former student at Weaver High School, so it's a pleasure for me to be here today, recognizing her. I think it's important for her to just tell a brief story about how we came to be in front of her house today.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me, and thank you for coming by. This was all made possible by Adam from Blue Hills Civic Association. The one day that I decided to answer my doorbell from everybody ringing the doorbell. He came to me and he was talking about the program and all the benefits that it had, and Adam stayed in constant contact with me up until the day he got the news about the program for flooding. And he asked me one day, how would you like if your house was the house for the press conference? And I said, okay, we can do that. Not to mention the mayor and all these electives and the governor was going to be here. I was a nervous wreck because I didn't know. I saw all these huge members of big decision making on TV. Who knew they were going to come to my little rock in Connecticut? So thank you all very, very much. And Adam from Blue Hills Civic Association.
Very briefly, you can send the governor the bill for your lawn, Nikita. But I'll just say that all the people that have been recognized, and I could tell you the great work that was done by the commissioner in changing some of the policies that had not been changed before, by the advocates who have been relentless, frankly by you guys in the press who made this a priority when it's been a priority for this neighborhood for a lot of years, as you've heard. And to the Hartford delegation, the speaker, who put this front and center on his plate. And when leadership stands up and says this is what we're going to do, I'll bet on that every day. But I'll just say what's tucked in this bill is a requirement that, as the commissioner said, that the utility, the MDC, has to keep this neighborhood informed every step of the way of what will happen. Because we'll go away, all this activity in the neighborhood will go away, and then the residents will say, when is it my turn? When will my issue be resolved? And that information, we hope, if the legislation is written properly, will inform the community of what will happen. And the commissioner said this is going to be, frankly, some of the changes that need to happen. West Hartford has to step up. That's a big part of the flooding that's taking place here. And it's going to require diligence on the part of everyone to stay on top of this. And if more money is needed, that we're able to commit those resources so this problem is one that's in the rearview mirror, not one when the next storm comes and people say, what happened, that bill, that press conference, but geez, my house is still flooded. So information is important, and that's part of this bill. And I want to thank everyone that's behind me and those that aren't here for making today happen. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of speakers, that's true. And you know, Doug, I bet you didn't know this. My father was born on Andover Street. That's where he lived when he was born. And then they moved to Whitney Street around 1960. That's where he lived for the first years of his life. Look, the Hartford delegation, when we're unified, there's nobody better. And what happened with this situation, and I met with Ms. Prince, and Attorney Jennings, and Mr. McCauley and others, was trust was a major issue, right? Sometimes when things go wrong, as Senator McCauley alluded to it for a long time, the trust has been so frayed that you can't even get to a legislation, you can't even get to a bill, because you can't even talk the same language about what the next steps ought to be. I remember that first meeting and the emotion and the tension. It didn't bother me. I wasn't angered by it. What it said to me is, we got to do something. People are at their wits' end. And so the three things we laid out were more money for more projects, a fund that will allow people to be reimbursed, which Comptroller Scanlon is going to be in charge of that, and reporting requirements. And we did all three. One of the reasons we did all three is because Commissioner Dykes, she's humble, she's been fabulous. She said yes every single time we needed her at a meeting, every single time we had a request, and that goes to Governor Lamont and his administration. But it's also because we worked on about 19 different drafts. We copied 45 people on every draft. There were no secrets. Everybody knew what we were working on line by line, second by second. And to sit there with your colleagues, you know, we got some strong personalities in the Hartford delegation, if you didn't know that. And from time to time, those strong personalities can be extremely effective at the Capitol, but sometimes it can make it hard to build consensus. We did it in the old-fashioned way. Transparency, line by line. We went line by line on a bill and incorporated dozens of ideas from each other to get to this point today. This is probably, in my years in the City Council, which those were tough, in the legislature, this might be one of my proudest moments because it had so many people who worked on this together, the advocates, the legislature, the commissioners, and we're trying to slowly rebuild that trust. But there's no mission accomplished sign here, right? There's still work that has to be done. We start today with the projects that hopefully begin in July, and then be on the lookout. We have an administrator of that fund, Blue Hill Civic, going door to door to let residents know about getting reimbursed. There's a lot more to this bill that we'll talk about, but to be here with my colleagues and so many people that I love and care about, it's a great thing. Thank you.
Off the hook, I guess. Listen, the reason I'm here is because I'm the guy that cuts the checks. And for too long, people in this neighborhood haven't seen a check for the damage that was done to their homes. And I am very, very proud to play a small but important role in righting those wrongs. And I'll just close by saying this. You know, when the speaker called me and said, I got something really important for you, I was actually proud to be a part of this, because whether you live in Guilford where I live or you live here on Granby Street, it's not possible to ignore the realities of climate change. But the problem is that for too long, we focused on the problems in a place like Guilford and not the place like Granby Street, okay? And so for me to be here today with this delegation, to try to help the Senator McCauley, Representative Kahn, Representative Hall, everybody to make right what's been going wrong for too long is something I'm proud to be a part of. And in a few weeks, once the administrator has been appointed, I will work very closely hand in hand with that person to roll out a plan to make sure that that is done transparently, to make sure we're working with Blue Hill Civic to spread the word about it. And we will be back here in a few weeks to make an announcement about how people can very easily apply for this funding and make sure that we get it out to you as soon as we can. Thank you all very much.
I think it's afternoon, right? Good afternoon, as you guys know. My name is Corey Betts, and I am president of the Greater Hartford branch of the NAACP. Today we are gathered here to address a critical issue that has plagued our community far too long. The chronic flooding and sewer overflows that have disproportionately affected residents in Hartford, particularly in the North End. First and foremost, I would like to express my appreciation to the governor, the office of the state comptroller, the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection, DEEP, and the legislative leaders, and the community activists. I have to say the community activists for their commitment to addressing this pressing issue. As we gather here, it is crucial to address the disproportionate impact of flooding and sewer overflows on the Black community in Hartford. Far too long, our community has borne the brunt of environmental injustice, facing the devastating consequences of inadequate infrastructure and insufficient resources. Let me say that, insufficient resources. The chronic flooding in the North End has not only threatened the physical safety and security of our residents, but it has also deeply affected their economic well-being. Many families have endured the heartbreaking experience, such as financial burdens and emotional tolls caused by flooding. The devastating effects of environmental injustice have perpetuated a cycle of inequality, hindering the progress and prosperity of the Black community here in Hartford. The lack of effective measures to address these issues have compounded the challenges faced by our residents, heightening existing disparities and stifling economic growth. That's a problem. Today's announcement of a commitment to a pilot program is a crucial step towards rectifying these long-standing injustices. However, we must acknowledge that this is just the beginning of a much-needed long process of change. While this funding will undoubtedly provide relief to many families and improve their immediate situation, it is vital to recognize that comprehensive solutions are necessary to address the root cause of environmental inequality. We must continue our collaboration efforts, our elected officials, advocates, and community leaders to ensure that the concerns of the Black community are heard and prioritized. Our collective voice must push for sustained investments in infrastructure, equitable access to resources, and the implementation, let me say that, and the implementation of inclusive policies that promote environmental justice. This commitment to investing in the health, safety, and well-being of our community is just a testament to the power of advocacy and unity. It is a testament to the resilience and determination of the Black community in Hartford. We will not be silenced or sidelined any longer. We will continue to fight for a future where our community is no longer disproportionately burdened by the consequences of environmental neglect. Today we stand at the edge of change, and we recognize this is a pivotal moment, a moment where the foundation is being laid for a more just and equitable future. Let us seize this opportunity, working hand in hand to build a Hartford where every resident, regardless of their race or zip code, can thrive in a community that values and protects their well-being. Thank you.
Hi, I'm also a resident of Hartford, and I love my community, as you can see. I can't plant flowers, I can't enjoy my backyard, I can't enjoy my basement because of the flood. I have mold, I have sinkholes in my yard, but today, looking around, I have hope that all of this will get rectified and I will be able to enjoy my residence and be able to plant my flower and go in part of my house and enjoy my basement without mud, water, and floods. Thank you.
So this is personal for me. I live right here on this street. And so hearing my neighbors talk month after month about the damage, the only word that I could think of was equity. Equity. They saw flooding happen in other areas and their homes were fixed. And so I just thank the residents who were relentless to have their voices heard. I will name individuals like Attorney Jennings and Bridget Prince and folks like that who took it up several levels. And I thank House Speaker Matt Ritter, and I thank my Senator Doug McCauley, for really fighting this battle. So again, we are finally starting to experience equity. And so we're so happy at the Blue Hills Civic Association to be part of the solution.
This is a very emotional situation for me because I'm not only an environmental justice advocate, but I am also impacted by sewage and water that flooded my home in December. Never did I ever think that as a result of what happened to me, people like Bridget Prince and Cynthia Jennings and all the other advocates here decided to say enough is enough. I have been living in a hotel since December 4th. And my last day of the hotel is this Friday, and I really don't have any prospects for where I'm gonna go. So it's very hard for me to realize that I'm technically homeless. And had it not been for Bridget Prince and Cynthia Jennings picking up that baton and keeping it going and making sure that everybody had equity in this, I don't think anybody would have equity today. I'm a resident of the flood-prone northeast area of Hartford, which is always ignored when it comes to flooding and sewage issues. Several years back, I'm sure those of you who are old enough realize that you couldn't even drive down Tower Avenue without hydroplaning because of all the flooding on the main streets. So I'm very relieved and very appreciative of all the help that everyone here has done to provide the funding, which brings a significant environmental justice lens to the table, because for far too long, our community has borne the brunt of sewer and stormwater-related flooding, severely impacting our lives, our property values, and our well-being. As a result of my issue, the Connecticut Coalition for Environmental Justice started in January, going door to door to folks who are impacted by this flooding, providing support for types of resources and letting them know what they can do to get help. Because imagine what happened to me on December 4th. I didn't know what to do and where to go. Bridget Prince and Cynthia Jennings made it possible because I was ineffective. I couldn't talk. I couldn't speak. I just couldn't do anything. How horrified it is to find yourself homeless. I had an uninsured loss. And this funding brings acknowledgement to the fact that we are disproportionately impacted by redlining by insurance companies. We don't have enough insurance, and we don't have insurance, period. I spent 22 years in the insurance industry, had no idea that I did not have sewage backup coverage. All of the expenses are on me, and it's over $100,000. And that's what was done so far. I can't even go back home. My house is full of mold. My furnace is not working. Water company turned the water off. Lights turned off. I can't even go back home because I can't repair my home. So this $5 million fund is so important to acknowledge the fact that not all of us can self-fund our losses. But the key to this fund, and all of the funding, is the administration. Because I was further traumatized by the funds which were supposed to help me. And why is it that 6 months later, I'm still living in a hotel? Further traumatized by the people who marginalized me. So it's wonderful to say that we've got $87 million here, we've got $5 million there. But if it's not administered with empathy, if it's not administered fairly or swiftly, it doesn't mean anything. So I'm very grateful for this vital support to not only myself and to others in the community, but I want you not to forget the Northeast section. Consider all of Hartford having this issue. And once again, I really want to give kudos to Bridget Prince, who's somewhere, because I tell you, Bridget is amazing. When I fell down and couldn't speak, I told Bridget, stand on my hand and keep it moving. And so did Cynthia. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sharon Lewis. Thank you, everyone. My name is Bridget Prince. Thank you for saying it like a million times. My name is Bridget Prince, and I actually didn't even want to be here with, sitting back here with the delegates. Not because I don't appreciate them, I appreciate all of them, but I still feel like I want to be back there with the people. So I wanted to express that. I do want to thank everyone. A special thanks to Attorney Cynthia Jennings, and wait a minute, I can't forget Mr. James Stanley McCauley. He was here with me from the very beginning. We was at the Capitol, knocking on doors, getting doors closed in our face, knocking on more doors, up against powerful lobbyists. And then finally, thank you, Speaker of the House Matt Ritter, who came forth and said, okay, you guys are loud, you're very loud, we hear you. Plus, this is my district that it's happening in. So I definitely want to thank Speaker Matt Ritter. Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. That's my guy right there. Senator Blumenthal was with us from the very beginning when we had the first meeting there at American Legion. EPA didn't show up, and then he got on the phone and told them what he told them. They showed up the next time, and then things started taking hold. I want to thank my partner Randy Watson, Veterans for Black Lives Matter. He's like my silent partner, always pushing me to move forward. The media. I'm part of the media, so I mean, literally, I want to be back there. This would not have happened without the media. This would not have happened because, as people said, it's been going on for decades and decades. 30 years ago, I lost all my military memorabilia and artifacts in the flood over there on Cleveland Avenue in the northeast section that Ms. Lewis is talking about. That really is also ignored. I have PTSD from that moment, so me having that and then, you know, being a part of the media, we wouldn't let go, and they wouldn't let it go because they, you know, they've been covering it for years, and their position is this does not happen anywhere else. And as Ms. Lewis said, when it did happen somewhere else, the fix came on, and it was taken care of. Thank you, Governor Ned Lamont. And I know we're going to get this funding coming through. There's infrastructure funds that's going to come on and continue to benefit the community. But what I wanted to say was, because the MDC is a public works municipality, there are regulations, there are laws that needs to be abided by, they need to comply with. There are, as we talked about Speaker Ritter, there are affirmative action laws. So right now, even though they have this money, it's very critical for the community to be a part of the workforce. You know, there's a CHRO report that needs to be submitted. There's Department of Economic and Community Development laws that need to be followed. So I'm hoping that besides the fix, that the community becomes a part of the solution. You know, that these dollars actually come and start developing a workforce, because we are in a city where the demographics is 85% black and brown, and we would like to see that being represented in the workforce. I need to thank, I don't want to get your title wrong, but the chair of the community development, I'll call you that, Ms. Diane Lewis for MDC. We fought. She came, she was like, I'm part of this community. We fought. I used the word war. She ran up into me, she said, oh wait, we're about to go to war. So she is the person here that is being part of the community, representing the MDC. So we're gonna work together. Thank you, Ms. Vicki Gallon. Appreciate that. You know, thank you so much. Commissioner Dykes, we're gonna meet. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership. Thanks to Matt Ritter and all of the legislative delegation, City Council, to Commissioner Dykes, and to all of the leaders who are here. But most of all, thanks to the residents. I came to those meetings at the invitation of Bridget Prince. By the way, never say no to Bridget Prince. Bridget Prince is my hero. She's a veteran, she's an advocate, and I would say that this community has a secret weapon, which is some really strong, powerful women and a few good men. But, you know, today didn't happen by accident. It's due to advocacy. And yes, we got the EPA to come, but we're not done. We're not done by any stretch. The federal government has an obligation to do much, much more. And I'm not done fighting for this community and others who are similarly affected. The problems here are about environmental justice. It's simple, straightforward environmental justice. The reason it took so long, the reason we're not done, the reason why we still face threats of flooding and wastewater contamination is inequity and injustice. So the commissioner referred to it as a jump start. Yes, it's a jump start, it's a beginning, it's a down payment. And I will continue fighting for the federal government to match its rhetoric with dollars. There's some dollars in this 85 million from the federal government. That Clean Water Fund has federal dollars. But if the federal government really means what it says about environmental justice, it will come to the north end of Hartford. It will come to this community. It will make sure that these renovations and repairs and construction are all done swiftly and effectively. And that just goes to the point that you've also heard. We need to make sure there's oversight and scrutiny to make sure that stuff happens on time. It's not about 10 years from now. It ought to be about 10 weeks, 10 months from now, work beginning right away. So we don't ask residents to wait any longer for environmental justice. Thanks to everyone for being here today. Again, I often think a picture is worth 1,000 words. This picture is worth 1,000 words because it means a community coming together. A community coming together with a common purpose, united. Strong personalities, yes, but united in its strength, which is coming together. Thanks so much, and proud to be followed by the best governor in the United States of America, gentlemen.
All right, listening to these stories, I'm sorry and ashamed how long it took us to get here. But we're here now, and we're not leaving until we get it right for each and every one of you in this community. Look, there was sewage bubbling up in a basement in Guilford or Greenwich. They'd be getting that fixed overnight. Well, we're going to get it fixed right here on Granby Street and beyond. We're getting it right, and it's long overdue, and we're not leaving until we get it right. Look, we're trying to do this home by home. We're trying to do this across a state that's pretty old. We've got a lot of really old stuff. You know, you heard from Katie, the pipes were for sewage, the pipes were for water, they're bubbling up. We've got a lot of work to do. And it's not all flashy what you do in state government. A lot of it is blocking and tackling. A lot of it's maintenance. A lot of it is just taking care of folks like Nikita right here in this house. And the fact that this floods repeatedly, over and over, these 100-year storms are happening repeatedly. The 100-year storm just 2 years ago, and what that did to this community. So give us a little time. We're not leaving until we get it right. I hear this community loud and clear, and I want to say to the community, thank you. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for making your voices heard. Thank you for standing up every day. Boy, I heard it. I heard it from your delegation. Your delegation was not shy. I can tell you that. They were loud and clear. And I heard it, we heard it, and we're going to follow up because we owe it to you. We owe it to this community. Look, this is your community. This is your home. Often the biggest investment value you've got is your home, what it means to your family, what it means to work. And we're making sure that we get this right for each and every one of you. God bless you. Any questions for anybody?
Okay, thank you very much. One of the things that we are constantly reminding the people about is that this issue is about health. We've got the highest death rate of senior citizens in this state. So we're talking about mold issues, which lead to cancer issues, which lead to other health issues, respiratory conditions. So when we think about the sewage flooding in the basement, think about the pandemic we just had. Whose sewage is that in your basement? So we're talking about the importance of rectifying the health issues that come with raw sewage and water damage. Thank you.
I think that the thing that is most important, and I think that the biggest takeaway several people have already mentioned, and I guess Senator Blumenthal put it the best, don't say no to Bridget Prince. And so, you know, when she came to the Greater Hartford African American Alliance, she had an issue. And our job is to help people with issues. And, you know, the flooding is more than physical, it's also emotional. It brings about a despair. It brings about hopelessness. And so when you can see a community lifted out of that hopelessness, it gives people great opportunity. I think the speaker also mentioned about trust. Like, there was no trust, period. You talk and that's it. We hear you talk, year 1, 2, 3, fast forward 40 years into the same problem. Senator McCauley was a young boy. Now he's a senator, and he's just now seeing the light come to a problem that should never have been. And so, you know, all these decisions are political decisions. And I think the greatest takeaway is that when constituents come together, when advocates speak up, their government actually does work. The system works. Don't be pushed back because someone said no. Just push harder. They work for you, as we can see, because Ms. Bridget Prince, we are here all for you.
Yes. So, thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Every bad political decision is made by a politician elected to office. So if you think your vote doesn't matter, just remember this. There are people sitting with politicians in a back room making deals about your future, making policies about your children, making decisions about your neighborhood. To them, you are just a vote. You are not their cause. You are just a vote. Elections have consequences, and if you don't vote, you are actually voting to keep these people in power to work against you. Now more than ever, you need to make your vote count. It's time to clear the air and vote for a mayor that is unbought, unbossed, trusted, and accountable to you, the constituent. My name is J. Stan McCauley, and I am an independent thinker, and I approve this message. I'm asking you for your vote on Tuesday, September the 12th, 2023, in the Democratic Party primary election for mayor of the city of Hartford. For more information, visit McCauleyformayor.com. Have the courage to vote your conscience and vote for the name you trust and know. Vote J. Stan McCauley for mayor.
Well, there you have it, Hartford. Another Hartford happening brought to you by W4 News, where we are here for Hartford. Stay tuned for more great programming right here, accesstv.org.